Well, today I'm giving a nice Garrard motor, a number 30 actually, the once over, just to make sure everything's shipshape in there. Took it apart, cleaned it up, had a look inside. Springs are all nice, gears are all nice, everything's meshing like it should. These are just such nice motors, both to work with and just in general. Garrard made motors for a lot of different manufacturers who didn't want to make their own motor, but wanted to make a cabinet or whatever. This one is out of a machine I don't know a lot about. Not my machine. I'm doing this for somebody else. Just going through the motor form. I already rebuilt the reproducer that came from the machine, which was a kind of unsophisticated, sort of generic type of potmetal reproducer. Nothing to write home about. Like I suspect, this company was one that made a machine, a cabinet, but just didn't want to bother with the rest. That was what was on there, SJD. I am not familiar with that make at all. Could find basically nothing about it online. It kind of looks like a Victrola 210, same type of little cabinet. It's a floor machine. You know, it's got record storage on one side, turntable on the other. You open a little drawer, not a drawer, you open a door on the bottom, and there's a horn hidden, Victrola style inside. And let's see if I can get some of the other pictures. Yeah, there it is. Whoops. The radio was added later, as you can see that on your left side of the picture there. That had nothing to do with the phonograph. The phonograph is all right there. And it's just a little cabinet machine. But, however much they saved money on the reproducer, they did spend it where it counted, and that is a very nice Garrard motor. These motors are such nice looking motors, so well made. They're almost collectible in their own right. This looks good enough to display by itself. Clean it up, put it on the shelf under glass. It's just really nice. And anybody lucky enough to get one of these, Columbia, UK Columbia, used these for years in all their portable machines. One of them turned up in that Crown phonograph, that horn phonograph I have from Asia. Just really nice. And this is the only motor that I can pop open. I know this motor hadn't been touched in at least 90 years. I mean, you could tell when you take them apart. And the grease inside the barrels was still perfect. It was liquid, it wasn't chunky, it wasn't, you know, sticking to stuff. It was perfect, like it was just put in yesterday, because they took pains to really seal those spring barrels tightly. On the ends everywhere, so oxygen doesn't really get in there, so nothing dries out. I took care of them anyway, since I was in there, but just the way they are. And it's Garrard motors do have that little sandwich gear there, the governor gear. That's a sandwich of, I don't know what that material is. Let's assume it's some form of early plastic. With it's like 2 layers of brass, and the material is between them. Unlike the Swiss motors where the entire gear is a fiber composite, this one is sort of like a little sandwich of metal material, which is probably also composite material. Some sort of fiber and brass on the bottom. Brass bushings in the end plate. End plate is all nicely polished. I don't know. Yeah, I guess that is nickeled, or maybe it's chromed. Not sure. We needed to find a crank because that was missing on the machine, and I'm not really sure where I got this crank from. Hopefully not something I need it for, but it was in my spare parts pile. And it fits, it works. And it'll work to function the machine. Get it playing again. Look at the governor on there. Beautifully polished brass. Really nicely done. I have yet to have a problem with a Garrard motor, to tell the truth, of any sort. And like I said, I do have a number of them in Columbias and whatnot. They show up in various places. And they're always working. They're always nice. Sometimes they need cleaning because things get dirty. Even up here, look how they designed this. The channels in the metal, right here and right here. You drop oil from the spindle down there, and it finds its way where it needs to go. That's nice. That really is. And let's see it function. Of course, I could sit here and watch motors spin all day long, but... And they're quiet, too. Now, I always leave right here, on the worm screw there, the worm gear, I always leave that unlubricated when there is a plastic or fiber gear involved. Oils can help break down those materials, especially when they're really, really old, so I leave them alone. Oil the pivot, you know, here and here, and you want to oil the shaft of the governor itself. But try, and of course your friction leather, which is right there. This is not leather on these machines, by the way. That is a felt. That is a felt. You can put leather if you have not, if it falls out or bugs eat it and you need to replace it. Leather will work. You can always put leather in there, just like a Victrola motor. But you want to, you know, oil up that friction felt and the shaft on the governor, so the governor body. I'll show you how the governor body moves. Keep your eye here and watch how it moves when I speed up or slow down. Well, first let's stop it. Now watch. See how that moves? Again, that needs to move freely on the shaft of the governor. If it's not moving freely, you're stuck in one speed. You know, you've lost your speed. So you got to keep a little oil there to make sure that can move freely. And they even painted the iron here. It's all painted. I have a few of, you know, a couple of these as spares, and I am going to clean them up actually and just display them just the way they are. Now, I don't know what else Garrard was making at this time. I don't think they made their own complete phonograph. Just provided motors for other companies that did. I imagine the Columbia contract must have kept them fairly busy. So they're around. You know, they did a really good job on what they were doing. And you'll find these in portables. You'll find these in larger floor models like this one came out of. The Crown horn phonograph. That's probably the only horn phonograph you'll ever see one in. But, I mean, how many people were making an outside horn phonograph in the 1930s? Not too many people. But I guess that was popular in Asia, so they did. You'll find the Crown in a previous video. 2 years ago, I think I did one on that one. Maybe a year and a half. And that's the motor board it belongs to. And a turntable. That's the speed control stuff there to hook it back up. I got to set the speed once I put it back on the motor board. Garrard motors remind me in a way of the late 19th, early 20th century pocket watches, when you could pop the back of, say, a Waltham or an Elgin watch open, or any of them from that time, you know, the higher end watches, and inside is everything's engine turned and polished and really nice looking, even though, reasonably speaking, the customer would probably never see that. It would only be the people servicing it that would ever see it. You know, very few customers, I'm sure, had the tools and the knowledge or the willingness, really, to open up a watch and look inside. And yet they still took such pride in what they made that they did that. They made it look so nice, even though it really wouldn't be seen. And this is another example of that. They could have left this a plain, you know, unpainted steel. They didn't have to plate anything. They could have just left it alone and not polished anything, and it would have worked just fine. And the customer would, unless you had one of the Crown machines with the glass panels in the side of the case, you'd never see this motor, except maybe once a year or so when they chanced to grease it and oil it, and that's it. But they still made it look nice anyway. Taking pride in what you build is something very, very rarely seen today. But there you go. A look at the Garrard 30 from the unknown machine, basically.